Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, guys, another very competent researcher from the Higher Truth channel. This guy's excellent. I do. I don't archive as much of his work as maybe I ought to. I'm not sure whether, again, if the subscribers would. He does get a little technical. At any rate, I think we can benefit a lot from what he's got to share in this presentation. So I thought I'd archive it and we'd um, study it together.
I thought you might like a direct quote from the Ulysses website, a satellite that studies the sun. The biggest discoveries, first ever survey of the sun's environment in space from the equator to the poles over a wide range of solar activity conditions. Key results to the date include the first detailed measurements of the solar wind from the sun's polar region, solar minimum and solar maximum. Ulysses is credited to date is the discovery that the magnetic flux leaving the sun is the same at all latitudes, the discovery of energetic particle reservoirs surrounding the sun, the helium cone, interstellar dust within the solar system, and helium from within the solar system. That was a discovery. We are in touch with many helium instruments, but this one we liked because you could visualize it. You can see there's a change in the helium amount just in 3 years. Positrons. Positrons are a subatomic particle. You get them in the atmosphere when two high energy or fast moving particles collide smack into each other. And along with the positrons, you get neutrons, and these are just the most destructive particle in the universe. And the thing I want to point out is how the trend has always been going up for the last 6 months. And I'm wondering when it will go down. You see, some of those areas are getting about 1,100,000 neutrons per hour. Okay, who needs a freaking radiation oncologist anymore? Not me. That's enough radiation to make Buzz Aldrin sick. In the South Pole. As you get further north on the left.
I'm glad you mentioned Buzz Aldrin, to be honest with you. There's a bit of a buzz going around right now, pun intended. Again, it's a psyop from where I'm standing, but he went to Antarctica recently and then sent out a tweet saying, we are all in danger. When he said we are all, he meant globally, the whole world, humanity is. And it's evil itself. Right, and that's the tweet he left. He was evacuated. Turns out that John Kerry was also in Antarctica. He's actually gone there. He's a statesman. A lot of eyebrows have been raised as to why he would want to go there. I certainly know exactly what's happening. At least I'm pretty confident that that's what they're doing, and it's just a psyop again of the many psyops that they continue doing and rolling out on the Ummah, on humanity. And this one in particular is about these. Well, at least they're using the pyramids that have recently become well, have been discovered because of the ice melting. And I've maintained and I've actually uploaded a vlog about the pyramids and the false extraterrestrial contact false flag that they intend to roll out on the Ummah again. Now, at any rate, Buzz Aldrin, you'll know that he's the first man, I understand, to maybe go out in space. No, not Buzz Aldrin, but I think it was Glenn or someone. At any rate, Buzz Aldrin is an astronaut. Sorry, he can't be the first. It was that Glenn something guy who just passed away at 95 years of age. And it's interesting because all these astronauts seem to play a part at some point in their life in this whole extraterrestrial kind of false flag psyop. And they've got their own role to play, and they kind of make their contribution to the cult, and that seems to be building up towards this false possibility. They're needed. I mean, it's got to look very organic and something that, and at least they're making the global governments look like the antithesis with humanity, where they're keeping secrets and lying constantly and not keeping any one of their promises and what have you. And in that antithesis, they were also kind of submerged in this conspiracy of UFOs and technology and reverse engineering and extraterrestrial beings and this false contact. And again, I think all of that's been deliberately created because that sort of stuff takes momentum and they understand how the human psyche works on the ground and how they can basically create these sort of cults who will then basically do most of their work for them, and they'll drip feed them with the odd conspiracy here or there, whether that's Area 51 or Roswell or whatever. And they'll use these sort of situations, or the crop circles, for instance. And I've uploaded a video which details very um, 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 robustly exactly how they intend to uh, um, unfold or roll out this psyop on the false extraterrestrial contact. Anyway, I digress. Um, going back to what we just discussed about Buzz Aldrin, and this is the little pun, I mean joke that this gentleman on the High Truth channel is referring to. For those who are averse to exactly what's happening in this regard, he actually was flown out to Antarctica, and John Kerry was also there, and they tried to create this kind of hoo-ha. They went to some princess something station which belongs to the UK in the Antarctica, and that's very closely kind of stationed, as it were, near these pyramids that have been recently revealed. And how I've already mentioned and done a vlog where there's going to be a connection between the extraterrestrial beings, the false extraterrestrial beings, especially the Sumerian sky gods and the pyramids that we're finding world over. And I've also mentioned that there's going to be a thesis and an antithesis in this false extraterrestrial game as well, where you're going to have the antithesis is going to be these Sumerian sky gods, reptilian type beings, all hybrid beings, by the way, and this isn't fiction, who will basically appear as though they've come from extraterrestrial origins. Okay, and this is just a whole false flag. And there's a lot of research that's gone behind this, and it would require another channel altogether, and another attempt altogether to try and maybe explain how I've come to this conclusion, at least. And when I say not just the false flag, but the thesis and the antithesis. And then I believe that the Antichrist, the deceiver, the um, man of perdition, Dajjal, Lanatullahi alayh, will claim to have come from another system, a star system, and I've maintained that I think it will be the Pleiades or the Sirius star. One of the two locations, and he will play the role of the thesis, the good, the false good, of course, but the good for humanity. At least that's the game, the chess game, and they're going to then use this technology. And both of them are going to be distinctly different, yet they're both of these the thesis and the antithesis in terms of extraterrestrial false beings are going to have certain technology which is going to surpass the technology that humanity currently has. Although that technology that they'll be using is actually our technology, but the technology that's been developed by the military industrial complex and has been kept away from the mainstream so that it can be used against humanity in order to bring about this false reality with the Antichrist being a savior, who will then be followed by the true Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, may peace and blessings be upon him, who will lead humanity into a golden era. That's another topic altogether. But now going back to Buzz Aldrin again, he's then tweeted this. So I think what's happened is, I think they're alluding towards this, like I said, as far as this binary system that's come into our solar system, that is the system that is going to be the origins, as I understand it, or what my research has certainly alluded towards. That's going to be the system from where the Sumerian sky gods, the antithesis, right, of the extraterrestrial false card, are going to come from. Okay, the false evil, and they're almost these kind of lizard type beings, and looking to enslave humanity. And it's going to follow the most likely we're going to experience one of these celestial bodies which will come into very close proximity as this primary star exits out of the solar system. And when it does that, they will claim that they are the beings that inhabit this particular celestial body that's going to come into close proximity with us, which is going to cause a lot of destruction in its wake. And I personally think that this celestial body is the one referred to, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. God knows best. I think it's the one being referred to in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had willed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send a sign in the heavens which would humble them, which would leave their necks strained looking up in the heavens. And I believe that that's the particular, this sign is what's being alluded towards in that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. It is certainly with our ulama kiram. But that during that time, I believe we're going to experience the 3 great landslides and a lot of other natural disasters. I think that, as the Prophet ﷺ said, Prophet Muhammad said, that different nations and different that rebelled were destroyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by God, when they rebelled and caused evil on the earth through different phenomena, natural phenomena, from fireballs falling from the sky, comets, I guess, from winds for Qawmi right, these giants, right, these extremely high and powerful winds. Then the floods of Nuh alayhi salam, in the time of Musa alayhi salam, where they experienced this kind of subtropical type of climate as a result. And what happened is you had these locust swarms and frogs, maybe perhaps even the blood turning, the river turning red. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but there was quite a lot of phenomena that occurred during that time which were climate related, right? Whatever they were. And again, it alludes towards this system maybe perhaps coming in during that time as well, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And then the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, when the 7 years of drought and the 7 years of harvest, again, because of the climate. So it seems like there's a relationship between this binary system as it comes in and goes back out again, and the destruction of these other rebellious nations, okay, which cause a lot of fitna and fasad on the earth, and rebelled against the message of the respective messengers, prophets of their time, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God destroyed them. Now, it seems when this system's coming in, again, depending on how the earth, let's say the earth is on a Russian roulette, and where it falls and where the system then exits and the proximity, I believe that we're going to come very close, to the one of the celestial bodies, and that celestial body will then be used as the so-called planet Nibiru in the Sumerian text to convince humanity that these were the I guess the sky gods being referred to, and then they will stage this extraterrestrial contact. And I think because it's in our system already, the planet, now what they're doing is warming the cult movement for these UFOs and extraterrestrials, and almost like whetting their appetite with this whole secretive kind of Buzz Aldrin going to the Antarctica, and John Kerry going there as well, and then him tweeting and then removing his tweet. And look, please score a line underneath this. But this is an astronaut who goes to Antarctica just when in the news, and you see the patterns here, right? I recently shared with you guys a article about them discovering these pyramids. And prior to that, I actually uploaded a vlog quite a while before that, and I couldn't have had the hindsight on them doing that, where I said they will connect the pyramids with the extraterrestrial beings, and the recent um, matters surrounding the pyramids of Giza, and how they found a chamber and they're trying to access it, and they're saying it's going to change. It's going to have a global impact, whatever they discover in there. Again, as far as I'm concerned, that discovery will falsely allude towards extraterrestrial beings again. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the Ummah. Our ulama kiram really, again, need to catch on with this phenomena and how all of this connects, and it's been laid out in that PDF science, and it's an intermediate level to this particular um, uh, scheme that they seem to be planning around this binary system as it comes in, and at the center of this binary system is that star, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Again, so I mean, it's the antithesis, and I think they're trying to play on that, and right now, hence why they're saying that it's because at least in the conspiracy circles or the truth movement. Actually, let's remove the conspiracy circles altogether, because I really don't do that. I prefer looking to facts, data, and science, and visual evidence, as well as being able to verify and corroborate the evidence that's presented. And everything that I have so far, either I've provided references to, or I've given you provided the data and stuff that can be corroborated and verified. So moving on from this, it seems that they're working on that, and Buzz Aldrin is trying to suggest over here that they made some contact with something, and it's very evil itself. And I think that evil itself is all folks again. They're all Masons, and part of the fraternity, and they're just playing humanity at it. And the evil that they're referring to here, and this is what I'm going to put out there for you guys again in advance. It's a pattern that I'm seeing, right? So all I'm going to do is hedge my bets on that pattern. And what I'm saying is that the evil he was referring to in his tweet is going to be the antithesis, which is the Sumerian sky gods, which are the reptilian kind of lizard kind of beings, and the whole connection between the pyramids and the Orion's belt. And this is where it seems to be the binary system. Its trajectory is coming in and out of from, right? And why the Orion's belt has always played a big role in the pyramids of Giza and everything else, all these other pyramids being found the world over. There's certainly another reason why they're aligned like that. And we again have to seriously, I mean, this vlog will go on forever. And like I said, I need a channel to discuss this, all of this at length. But our ulama kiram certainly need to get to grips with it, simply because this is the scheming and the planning through which they're looking to introduce humanity to a Dajjal, lanatullahi alayh, disconnect them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from God, from the true creator, and introduce a new false religion, which is a religion of the feminine and the masculine, and the merging of the two in order to tap into the pineal gland and divinity, the false divinity within oneself, which goes back to again Fir'aun lanatullahi alayh, where he basically said, "Ana rabbukum al-a'la," and that I am God, the greatest. And then you can see where his religious, and this is the connection being made again, where his religious kind of beliefs stem from, right? And what kind of, I guess, religious doctrine, and the connection between all of this stuff. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Anyway, I'll let you go back to these guys. Sorry guys, I just literally went off on a tangent again. I just thought you mentioned Buzz Aldrin, and I just wanted to give you some sort of background on it, and I think I've kind of gotten carried away.
Attitudes, still we're maintaining that pattern where the higher up you get on the globe, the fewer neutrons you're getting. And a lot of times, neutron events happened in the North Pole from CMEs and hydrogen and ionized stuff. But a lot of this is neutral helium coming from underneath the sun. And you should keep an eye on these filaments when they get to where that wind from Aquarius would be the fastest, they become totally disturbed and shoot off the sun. And the flares recently on the sun happened during a time where we have a lot of flares. We usually have a 90-degree alignment between Earth and Aquarius. Put Jupiter in the mix, and you would have even a better light show. But notice how hazy it appears to be above the surface of the sun. And there's some video here I have. I'm going to put it on another video. Shows layers and layers of plasma just being lifted off the surface of the sun. And the blinking sun, stereo ahead always blinks much of the time. I never did quite figure out what the exposure problem was there, but it's just kind of funny because on the day that was blinking, other people were filming blinking sun as well. And these videos don't get a lot of hits, but you can sure do a YouTube search, blinking sun, and you will see. And these people did not mess with the exposure because it did not change the light in the foreground or did not change the light reflected off the windowsill. The only thing that's brightening is the sun itself, and it's actually fluxing. And when you go back and you research the days that these events are being recorded, there are CMEs on the sun.
This is very substantial, by the way, and his analysis of the video itself is a very interesting one. I'm glad he actually did that. The only reason why I've not been sharing this sort of content about the sun blinking, I've done every now and then, but nothing substantial. And the only reason is because I couldn't really explain why it was maybe perhaps not any anomaly by the person taking the footage, by him zooming in and out. Maybe that it wasn't that, and rather it was the sun that was actually blinking. Now he's just explained how the foreground isn't out of focus and remains exactly as it was, nor are the window panes changing in focus, nor is there any sort of variation in terms of light in the foreground, which suggests that the guy taking the footage isn't zooming in or zooming out. In other words, all he's doing is zoomed in to the sun, and that's it. It's at one zoom, fixed, stationary, and then whatever you see is the activity on the sun that's being captured by the video. And we've got to ask ourselves, why is the sun flashing? It's never done that. It shouldn't flash. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, unless it's being like really upset by this binary, this primary star that's parked next to it. Or again, that it's the false technology, the solar sun simulator, right? The lamp, the Truman Show. It could be that technology which is failing them every now and then, or has these glitches, right? Either way, whatever's up there, if it is indeed our sun, it shouldn't be doing that. It shouldn't be flashing.
So you're getting a huge X-ray burst that is probably ionizing and then reabsorbing photons because of the.
Again, another matter. Sorry, guys. If it is a solar sun simulator, remember that's in front of our sun. So if the sun behind the solar sun simulator is flashing, you'd also see it flashing around the solar sun simulator. Hence, it would look like it's still flashing. Whether it was the solar, so it could be the sun itself. To be honest with you, behind the solar sun simulator that's doing that. That's just one possibility, I guess.
Matrix of particles that is between Earth and the sun, and so you're going to get this flickering almost every time there's a CME of M flare or bigger on the sun. You're going to see this with your naked eye probably, but that's just a evidence of something between us and the sun. And when we talk about a magnetosphere collapse, well, I mean, look at guys, this is pretty basic. This is a balloon. It's just sitting here tied, has almost no air in it. But as they pull the air particles out of this bell jar, the atmospheric pressure drops and the balloon begins to expand. Okay, that's because there's less particles, and Earth used to be traveling through a vacuum, but now there are more particles that we're traveling through. So what happens when you take a vacuum and you start adding a higher density of particles in that vacuum? You don't deflate, you compress the balloon. And also let me quote you. Ulysses detected a huge shrinkage in the sun's heliosphere and the weakening of the sun's external wind. It's a great article on how we had a 50-year low, how the heliosphere has shrunk. But look at the legends on these graphs. These are right off the Ulysses website. The blues are inward IMFs and inbound wind. The red is outbound. Why would somebody be tracking an inbound anything? Why would there be an inbound interplanetary magnetic field? Where is it coming from? It's coming from out there. That's what's shrinking and compressing the entire heliosphere, but only on one side of the solar system. Look which side of the solar system all these disturbances have been recorded. Look at the greatest disturbance in the interplanetary magnetic field, but the blue is an incoming planetary magnetic field. The blue is look how it is spiraling in. But don't take my word for it. This is right off the Ulysses website, right off of it.